Hello, hello. Awesome, guys. We are going to talk about my plate method. This is very timely because we're rolling up on a holiday, and I want to make sure I cover this with you here. So I have shared a whole video series on the Paper Pencil Journal, how to fill out the left side of your paper with your plan of your food for the day, and then how to use the right side to learn about your eating behaviors so you can actually lose weight, maintain weight, and gain control of your eating. But now I want to take it a little step further, and I want to talk a little bit more about how to handle things like, holiday parties, maybe going to someone's house where you don't really know what's going to be served, or going to an event where you're not familiar with what food's going to be available. The plate method is a very simple way to set some boundaries for yourself in a very loving, kind way, so that way you know what to focus on. What normally happens to people when they're rolling up on, say, Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, going to their best friend's house for dinner, it's kind of, this is the conversation with the lower brain. I don't know what they're going to serve. I don't know how many calories are in it. I can't possibly write down a plan because I have no idea. And then what happens is when you get there, you tend to just kind of have a, who cares maybe mentality and eat whatever you want because there's no plan. And that really bites us in the butt, where what I'm encouraging you to do is actually have a couple boundaries for yourself so that way you know what to focus on. So for example, let's just pretend we're going to talk about a Christmas party. You're going to go to a Christmas party and you say, okay, well, there's probably going to be appetizers. So I am going to say, I love appetizers. I'm going to say, I'm going to give myself 2 small plates of appetizers, maybe with 3 things on it. So on your sheet of paper, you would write 2 plates of appetizers, 3 items on each plate. This gives you a focus. Do you know what those are going to be? No. Do you know how many calories it's going to be? No. But have you given yourself, I call it like when you and kid goes bowling and they put those bumpers on the aisle so they don't get a gutter ball. It's kind of giving you the bumpers necessary so you don't get a gutter ball. So you might say that, right? At 2 plates of appetizers. Now, then you say, okay, and for dinner, I'm going to have 1 plate of food. So I'm going to have 1 plate of food. Now, you could put some good health goals in there if you want, like, for instance, maybe including a source of protein if available, or if you want to include a fruit or vegetable if available. You could write all of this down on your plan. Now, notice in all of this, guys, I have no clue what food is being served. I just now know that I'm going to have 2 plates of appetizers, 3 items on each plate, 1 plate of dinner. Maybe I'm going to focus on getting a vegetable on the plate. And I'm going to go ahead and set a dessert goal. I might say, okay, I'm going to have 1 plate of dessert. But if something looks really delicious to me that I don't put on my plate, I'm going to take a second plate home for later, or ask the hostess if I can take one home. So 1 plate for there, 1 plate to take home. Why? Why would you do that, Heather? Because if I feel I can only have 1 plate of desserts and desserts is my thing, then what I'm going to do is probably overeat. I'm probably going to lump a bunch of desserts on 1 plate. But if I know I could take a second plate home, how could that be different? It is. It's wildly different. I've watched people do it. Now, another boundary you could set is alcohol. Okay, I'm going to keep to 3 glasses of wine, and maybe I'm going to have water in between each glass of wine. Now, we have no idea what food's being served. We have no idea if there will be appetizers, if there will be dessert. No idea what dinner is. But have we taken the time to lay out a really solid plan? Yes. Now, when you come home that night, what will you do? You'll say, hey, I had my 2 plates of appetizers. Maybe on plate 1, I put 3 chicken wings. Second plate was like some artichoke dip and 5 chips and a mozzarella cheese stick. Boom, I'm going to fill out the right side of my paper. Then you might come up on dinner and say, hey, dinner, we had lasagna. I included some roasted green beans, got my vegetable in, and I had 2 breadsticks. Cool, I'm going to write all that down. Dessert, maybe it was cheesecake. Okay, had 1 slice of cheesecake, but they had some really yummy brownies, so I brought a brownie home for a second treat for the next night. Great. I drank 2 glasses of wine. I passed on the 3rd. Great. See, then you can come home and document what actually happened. But you went in with a plan. I think it was Winston Churchill what is it? Plans are useless, but planning is valuable, because we don't always do the plan we write down, but the act of planning itself, thinking through what's going to happen, what you want to see yourself doing, what is going to be your focus, that wildly helpful. So I want to just encourage you, whether you do my paper pencil journal method or not, give it a try. Take out a sheet of notebook paper before you go to your next food type event where you're not certain what's going to be served. And even if you don't want to track calories, because I wouldn't even bother doing calories. I would write down, I call them healthy boundaries, right? Maybe one of your boundaries that you'll want to write down is button chair food on plate. I'm going to have 2 plates of appetizers, but I'm going to sit down and enjoy it off of a plate. I'm not going to do, one of my clients is funny, she calls it drive-by eating. She's like, I'm not going to do drive-by eating at this event. So you don't do drive-by eating. You sit down, you eat off of a plate. So what I encourage people to do is be honest with yourself. Find those things that you really love and that you know you struggle with. Make a plan to have adequate amount of those things. Give yourself a plate limit. Give yourself maybe an items limit for certain plates. Give yourself a limit for the amount of alcohol you're going to consume if you're going to be drinking your calories. Make sure you write out a reasonable plan. Think about what you normally do at these events. So don't go crazy and say, no wine tonight, when every time you go, you drink 3 or 4 glasses of wine. That doesn't make any sense. Plan honestly for what you're going to do, and then have a plan for those things that you struggle with. For me, it would be desserts. So I'm going to have a dessert there, and then I'll package one home and bring it home for the next night. And that way I'm not overeating desserts in that one moment in time, right? And then if you are doing the paper pencil journal, when you come home, you would adequately document what you ate. And then if you are doing calories, you would just track them the next morning, and then you would move on. But a plan is better than no plan at all. You just don't need to have all the details of all the food items to make the plan. All right, guys, I hope the plate method helps you this holiday season, and I'll talk to you soon.